Back in October of 1991, a religious leader in Japan gave this really incredible lecture. It was one part political commentary and one part, well, spiritual prophecy. He laid out this grand vision for the country's future by, get this, looking directly into the souls of its most powerful politicians. So today, let's unpack this fascinating and seriously complex worldview.
Right out of the gate, the lecture kicks off with this wild claim. The speaker isn't just analyzing the news or reading polls. No, he says he's talking directly to the past lives, the guardian spirits of Japan's leaders, to find out what's really going on in their heads. I mean, talk about setting the stage. This just isn't your typical political analysis.
So where do you even start with something like that? Well, this spiritual investigation begins by creating a kind of map. A map of the past lives of the men who are all trying to become the next leader of Japan. The whole idea is that who they were in the past tells you everything about who they are now, and more importantly, whether they're the right person for the job.
So let's look at the lineup. You've got Kiichi Miyazawa, who was seen as the frontrunner at the time. He's identified as a scholar from way back in the Heian era. Super smart, obviously, but maybe not so great at the whole political game. Then you have his rivals, Watanabe and Mitsuzuka. They're pegged as reborn warlords from the Sengoku period, which explains why they come off as a bit rougher, more intense. And the outgoing Prime Minister Toshika Kafu? The speaker says he was a priest whose whole purpose in this life was just fulfilled by handling some big imperial ceremonies.
Right, so here's the big takeaway from all this. You can't really get what's happening in politics right now, at least according to this lecture, without understanding this deep spiritual history. The idea is that a soul literally carries its baggage, its talents, its personality, from one life to the next. This isn't just some fun fact. It's presented as the actual key to understanding who should be in charge.
Now you might be wondering, why is a spiritual leader so focused on the nitty-gritty of politics? I mean, what's the connection? Well, the answer gets to the real heart of this whole lecture, a huge, sweeping theory that connects the soul of a nation directly to its success on the world stage.
The main argument is actually pretty simple, but it's got huge implications. For a country to really, truly succeed, to reach its full potential, it needs more than just a strong government. It also needs a powerful and, this is the important part, a correct spiritual foundation to guide it. Politics and religion, he says, have to work together, perfectly in sync.
And to make his case, the speaker gives us this kind of spiritual history of Japan. He traces how the dominant philosophy has changed over time. You had Confucianism during the Shogun era. Then came the Meiji Restoration, where state Shinto was put on a pedestal and Buddhism was pushed to the side. So, in this view, the end of World War II wasn't just a political defeat, it was a spiritual defeat for state Shinto, which left this big empty space.
And this is where it all comes together. That spiritual vacuum, it's seen as a massive opportunity. The speaker positions his own Buddhist-based movement as the one destined to fill that void. He's saying it's the force that can provide the spiritual guidance Japan needs to go from being just an economic powerhouse to a true global superpower with real influence.
Okay, but if you're going to say your way is the right way, you need a way to prove it, right? I mean, there are tons of religions out there. So the speaker offers a system for telling the correct spiritual path from the incorrect ones. He calls it the three mysteries. It all boils down to three fundamental parts of being human: what you do with your body, what you say with your mouth, and what you think with your mind. The argument is that a true spiritual path has to get all three of these things right, working in harmony. Basically, how you act, what you say, and what you believe, that's the ultimate test of your spiritual progress. And when it comes to the body, the lecture draws a really sharp line in the sand. It completely rejects extreme physical stuff, like fasting for ages or insane feats of endurance. That is not the path. Instead, it holds up the middle way that the Buddha taught, just living a healthy, normal, balanced life. All that extreme stuff, he warns, doesn't get you to heaven. It actually leads you to the realms of demons or even straight to hell. And this last one, the mind, this is the big one. This is the absolute core of it all. The main principle here is total and complete self-responsibility. The lecture is crystal clear on this. You can't blame your ancestors, the government, or anything outside of yourself for your problems. The cause of your suffering and the solution is all within your own mind. That's the foundation for everything else. So, you get your body, speech, and mind in order. But what happens if you don't? Well, the stakes for getting this right are, frankly, astronomical.
The lecture then takes a turn and starts laying out this incredibly detailed and unflinching map of the afterlife, where all the consequences of your choices on Earth become very, very real.
The whole system is built on this one core concept, reincarnation. The idea that we live over and over again isn't just a belief here. It's the fundamental engine of spiritual growth. Every single life is another chance to learn, to do better, or to mess up and fall behind, as the great wheel of rebirth just keeps on turning.
So what happens when we're between lives? The speaker lays out this whole spiritual landscape. If you followed the right path, there are beautiful heavenly realms waiting for you. But if you didn't, there's a horrifying descent into a whole series of hells, and each one is basically custom designed to match the sins you committed.
And these descriptions, they are incredibly specific and frankly terrifying. For example, there's the hell of black rope. Here, souls are stretched out on a floor of red-hot iron. Then they're marked with burning black ropes, and their bodies are sliced up along those very lines. And the worst part? They're just brought back to life to go through it all over again.
And it gets worse. The deepest, most terrible level is called Avicii, which literally means incessant suffering. This place is reserved for the absolute worst spiritual crimes. The speaker describes souls being skinned alive, having molten metal poured down their throats, just enduring unimaginable torment that's said to last for thousands upon thousands of years.
So, what on earth could you do to deserve a punishment like that? The lecture lists 5 specific things called the grave offenses. They are killing your father, killing your mother, killing a truly enlightened person, physically hurting a Buddha, and, maybe most relevant for a religious leader, causing a major split in the spiritual community.
And that brings us to the big, final question, the one that hangs over this entire prophecy. When you're presented with a vision of the universe this intense, this terrifying, is the speaker's message just a threat designed to control people? Or, from his point of view, is it an act of profound compassion, a desperate warning to try and save people from a fate they can't even begin to imagine? That's the question at the very core of this whole thing.